Kim Kardashian's latest venture into scripted television was supposed to be a statement. All's Fair, the glossy legal drama created with Ryan Murphy and anchored by an A-list ensemble, arrived with the kind of marquee power that usually guarantees attention and, at minimum, curiosity. It delivered both, but not in the way the team hoped. Early reactions have been bruising, with some critics calling it the worst TV of the year and others arguing it isn't even ripe for hate-watching. Inside sources say Kardashian has taken the wave of negative coverage hard, and the pressure is being felt across the production. When a show fronted by names like Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, Naomi Watts, Teyana Taylor, and Kim Kardashian herself misfires this loudly. The post-mortem starts quickly. Let's lay out what the series promised and why it's struggling. All's Fair sells itself as a high-style, female-driven legal drama set in Los Angeles, equal parts power fantasy and modern melodrama. The tone is unmistakably Ryan Murphy. Couture wardrobes, glass box sets, bold lighting, and a soundtrack intent on telling you how to feel. The premise is straightforward. 3 high-profile lawyers running a boutique firm that handles the messiest divorces and the most photogenic scandals. But the execution is where the friction begins. The writing leans heavily on one-liners and magazine spread imagery, while sidelining the procedural bones that make legal dramas addictive. In short, there's plenty of gloss but not enough spine. Critics have not held back. One trade described Kim Kardashian's performance as stiff and effectless, without a single authentic note. Another called the show fascinatingly, incomprehensibly, existentially terrible, a phrase that has bounced around social media with grim delight. Early aggregators captured a Rotten Tomatoes score that dipped to single digits as the first reviews posted. That snapshot became a headline in itself, All's Fair Rotten Tomatoes score, and fueled a narrative of a prestige project falling flat. To be clear, those tallies are fluid. As more reviews arrive, numbers change. But the opening impression matters, and this one landed hard. Inside the creative team, there's acknowledgement that the balance might be off. Executive producer Anthony Hemingway has said he pushed for a more commercial, less dark tone than Murphy's edgier titles. That creative note reads well on paper: sexy, splashy, and accessible. The problem is that television still needs a beating heart. Legal dramas thrive on stakes, structure, and the charge of watching a smart argument win the day. All's Fair sprinkles in legalese but rarely earns the payoff. The result feels oddly weightless, too glamorous to be credible and too flat to be fun. Now to the performances, because that's where the audience's eye goes first. Kardashian is front and center, and the show bends itself around her. She looks impeccable, as you'd expect, and she's clearly studied the mechanics of being on a scripted set. She doesn't glance at the camera. She hits her marks. She delivers lines cleanly, but acting is more than competence. In key moments, the emotional register remains narrow, a divorce revelation that lands with the same facial expression as a brunch slight or a confrontation that never breaks the surface. Viewers have zeroed in on that restraint and debated whether it's a choice or a limitation. Comparisons to Kourtney's flat affectation have popped up in comment sections, and not kindly. There are exceptions. The most convincing beat in the early episodes, by consensus, arrives when the show leans into Kardashian's real-life narrative, a matter-of-fact conversation about cosmetic procedures. It's a brief scene that reads like an interview dropped into a drama, and it plays because it feels unforced. Elsewhere, a Lemonade-adjacent retaliation moment, clearly designed as a cathartic set piece, doesn't fully land because the emotion never quite crescendos. Shots of tears streaking across perfectly made-up cheeks become a metaphor for the series. The image is right, but the feeling is missing. Teyana Taylor, a magnetic presence in music and fashion, has also taken heat for what some viewers called unbelievably bad acting. She's charismatic and arresting in motion, but when a scene calls for nuance, especially in romantic beats, she sometimes fights the dialogue rather than living in it. A widely shared clip of an on-screen kiss drew snarky commentary not because of prudishness, but because the chemistry looked staged rather than lived in. That's the double bind of a high-gloss series. The shinier the finish, the more unforgiving the close-up. This is not to say the entire cast is struggling. Sarah Paulson, longtime Murphy collaborator and an actor who swings big, does exactly what she always does. She commits. Some viewers say she's overacting compared to those around her. Others say everyone else is underplaying next to a pro. The truth likely sits in the middle. Glenn Close brings an instant authority to every frame she's in. Naomi Watts moves through the space with elegance. Niecy Nash, the show credits vary, but the star's effect is unmistakable, delivers timing and warmth. Though a "that part" quip tossed into legal banter took some audience members out of the scene, a reminder that style cannot replace scaffolding. To the writer's credit, the series isn't devoid of hooks. A late episode 3 twist involving a client's revenge arc jolted skeptics who had settled into a doom scroll. That storyline belongs to a guest turn from Jessica Simpson, who arrives under prosthetics that were teased in interviews but were still recognizable to longtime fans. Her character, a woman allegedly pressured into procedures by a controlling husband, unexpectedly anchors one of the first cases where the show's heightened tone and human stakes actually click. It's telling that this subplot, rather than the core cast's personal lives, provided the first gasp-worthy pivot. In that moment, you can see the series it might become. Salacious, yes, but with teeth. Music cues have also become part of the conversation. In a wedding flashback, the show leans on Lana Del Rey's Young and Beautiful, the same song associated with Kim Kardashian's real-life engagement moment. Fans of the Kardashian West era clocked the choice instantly and debated whether it was a knowing wink, a repurposed memory, or simply a perfect fit for a wealthy romance montage. Intentional or not, the cue pulled viewers into the show's most meta debate. When does All's Fair become an extension of Kardashian's public narrative? And when is it its own thing? The defense from inside the production has been robust. Glenn Close, in interviews, has praised Kardashian's work as truly impressive. Teyana Taylor spoke warmly about watching Kim find her footing on set. Director Anthony Hemingway urged audiences to receive the series as comedic and heightened rather than austere or gritty, closer to Scream Queens or Gossip Girl than to American Crime Story. In that frame, the show becomes a wine and couch watch, a soapy, over-the-top legal fantasy that prioritizes fashion and attitude over law school precision. That argument has resonated with a segment of the audience, especially viewers who enjoy the Kardashian universe on Hulu and want a companion piece with higher stakes and bigger production value. It's fair to say there's a split-screen effect. On one side, headlines blasting "worst TV ever," Rotten Tomatoes percentages gleefully screenshotted, and social threads dunking on line readings and boardroom monologues. On the other, fans reporting they're hooked, calling it Gossip Girl if they all became lawyers, and insisting critics came to the party determined not to like Kim Kardashian in a drama. One viral creator rebutted the 0% score claim, noting that only a handful of critics had weighed in at the time and that the early average misled casual observers. As more reviews arrived, the number nudged up. It didn't rescue the narrative, but it complicated it. There is a larger industry lesson here. When a show positions itself as appointment television, teasing a stacked cast, the Ryan Murphy brand, and wall-to-wall glamour, expectations rise. Audiences want the substance to match the surface. A commercial, soapy tone can work brilliantly, think Dynasty revivals or the best arcs of Scandal, but it requires discipline. Murky case-of-the-week structures, constant flashbacks before characters are fully formed, and exposition that announces rather than reveals will always feel thin, no matter how much Chanel and Tom Ford you throw on top. That's not criticism for its own sake. It's the reality of a sophisticated TV audience in 2025. As for the show's star, reporting that Kardashian is depressed should be treated with care. What's clear is that she has invested herself in All's Fair, as an actor, as an executive producer, and as a public figure eager to broaden her portfolio beyond reality TV and business ventures. The reception would sting anyone, and the internet is not a gentle place. The question is how the team responds. Murphy has rebuilt in season before, soft-pivoting shows towards strengths. Kardashian is coachable and resilient. Her best scenes prove she can connect when material aligns with her. If All's Fair leans harder into cases that echo contemporary tabloid law reality, coercive control, image rights, digital defamation, while grounding the proceedings in credible lawyering, it can find an audience that isn't just doom-scrolling. To the fan-critic divide, both sides have a point. You can enjoy a glossy, imperfect drama on its own terms and still expect more from a project with this much talent attached. You can laugh at a corny line and also want sharper writing in the next episode. You can appreciate wardrobe and art direction while asking the series to let its performers, especially Kardashian and Taylor, play messier, less posed, more alive. One of the most repeated critiques is that Kardashian holds the same face across wildly different emotional beats. That's solvable. The camera rewards risk. The audience does too. There's another subplot worth noting because it speaks to how viewers process the blend of fiction and reality. All's Fair includes repeated references to procedures and wellness regimens, everything from fillers and lasers to more intimate treatments. It's not subtle, and that's intentional. As an executive producer, Kardashian knows the audience will lean forward when the dialogue feels autobiographical. Some have wondered aloud if those mentions function as embedded ads or as meta-commentary. Either way, they're among the few lines that feel grounded rather than invented. And that says something about where the show connects. Behind the scenes, the cast's chemistry off-camera contrasts with the stiffness some viewers see on camera. Interviews with Paulson, Close, and Kardashian have produced the kind of contagious laughter that makes for irresistible clips. There's a widely shared moment where the trio jokes about who would be most likely to borrow a wardrobe piece. Their laughter runs long enough that Close gently reels the group back to the interview. It's a small thing, but it reminds you why producers keep assembling ensembles like this. These are people you want to spend time with. The task for All's Fair is to bottle that energy inside the episodes. Where does the show go from here? Early weeks are always the roughest for a series under the microscope. If the writing sharpens and the cases tighten, the audience that came for the spectacle may stay for the ride. If not, All's Fair becomes a teachable moment about the limits of star power and the cost of underestimating viewers. As for Kardashian, this is not a career-ending misstep. Plenty of performers have weathered rocky debuts, recalibrated, and returned stronger. The smarter question is what she does next, doubling down to show growth inside All's Fair, choosing a smaller, character-driven role elsewhere, or leaning into hosting and documentaries where her natural composure plays as authority. Teyana Taylor faces a similar fork. Few artists pivot across mediums as fluidly as she has in recent years. A sharper script and a director intent on mining her interiority could pull a breakthrough out of this. On a Murphy set, adjustments can happen fast. If episode 5 lands a case that lets Taylor erupt in a controlled way while giving Kardashian a grounded courtroom win, the conversation shifts. That's how television works. It's fragile, but it's forgiving when you deliver. One more note for viewers trying to decide whether to sample the show. If you come expecting American Crime Story, tight, propulsive, and legally literate, you will be disappointed. If you cue it as a high-fashion, high-drama, low-logic weeknight watch, you may find yourself entertained in spite of the flaws. Think Scream Queen's energy dressed in legal drag, with Gossip Girl's taste for monologues and couture. You can sip a glass of wine, fold laundry, and keep up. Not every series needs to be a sermon. Some want to be a spectacle. The problem is when spectacle forgets to be fun. All's Fair is flirting with that line. It can still step back. As for the larger cultural footprint, the show has already generated the kind of search traffic its marketers crave. Kim Kardashian All's Fair review. Ryan Murphy Hulu legal drama. All's Fair Rotten Tomatoes. Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, Naomi Watts cast. Teyana Taylor acting. Jessica Simpson cameo. Lana Del Rey young and beautiful wedding scene. That interest buys time. What the team does with it will decide whether All's Fair becomes a guilty pleasure, a late-season comeback, or a cautionary tale. For now, the fairest assessment is also the simplest. All's Fair arrived with sky-high expectations, world-class talent, and a lead whose global profile guarantees attention. It is not working at the level its creators intended. But television is iterative. Scripts can sharpen, performances can deepen, and audiences can be won back with one great episode. If the show finds its center, credible cases, sharper dialogue, less posing, more pulse, there's room to grow. If not, it will be remembered for the mismatch between promise and product. Tell us where you landed. Did All's Fair strike you as glossy escapism? Or did the writing sink it from the start? Did any performance surprise you, in a good way or otherwise? And if you're in the fun, soapy, turn-your-brain-off camp, what hooked you enough to keep watching? Drop your thoughts below. We'll keep tracking the ratings, the reviews, and any mid-season course corrections from Ryan Murphy's team. And we'll let you know if All's Fair finds the case that finally makes its argument.